The Hitman games have received a huge update where the entire World of Assassination trilogy will build into one conformed package that will be absolutely stellar for those who haven't already played the games. Hitman 3 will turn into the trilogy as a whole, where in the purchase of that game you will instead have access to the entire trilogy of games, and I think there's an absolutely amazing deal in that. We'll cover the gameplay, story without spoilers, and some extras that have been offered in this new Hitman Trilogy package, and break down whether or not you should finally purchase it in 2023. If you're even glancing over at purchasing these games, the reason is most probably going to be the gameplay of the series. Even if you haven't played or even touched the games for yourselves, you may have seen some interesting and intriguing clips online of people pulling off crazy stunts within the wacky gameplay systems designed by IO Interactive. And you will be right for thinking that that looks like a bunch of fun and you'd like to get yourself into it as well. I can confidently say that the gameplay systems within the entire Hitman trilogy is so well designed and excellently executed that by itself the game is worth it on the merits of its fantastic and surely riveting gameplay. There's a lot of sections to break down here, so firstly we'll talk about the core gameplay loop. Of course, as you can certainly tell from the game's title, you have a bunch of different missions while playing through the trilogy in which you have to hunt down and assassinate various targets. Of course, these targets will have bodyguards, security, and other facets that prevent you from directly going in an easy manner and taking them out without alerting an entire facility. Of course, the game's advent of freedom makes it so if you really do want to go guns blazing, surely making your way through the level by eliminating enemies in a less than fashionable and stealthy manner, that's definitely on the table. But a lot of what brings out the best aspects of the gameplay here within the trilogy is in your ability to come up with creative solutions in order to take down your targets without detection. This may come through a sudden opportunity, such as your target going into the bathroom where you may drown their head in toilet water, or them coming under a machine that you may disguise yourself as the engineer of in order to cause a miscalculation that takes out your target for you. If you come into these games with the intention to somehow play the game as a third-person shooter, I assure you, you won't be able to fully derive the prowess of the gameplay systems within the Hitman trilogy. The gameplay practically begs and allows the player in all aspects to innovate their solutions to the problems offered by the games, as it allows you to continuously create unique solutions in order to take down different targets when in different types of scenarios. Not every run-through of one singular level is the same, which again adds to the gameplay systems a lot. Of course, in terms of replayability, this greatly enhances it, as the game can be continuously played without it becoming repetitive at all, because there are so many unique ways you can take down a target that makes this game an absolute blast to play through. The tools you have while going into missions and the ones you pick up when you go through a level also open up new and unique opportunities that you may make use of in order to further your progress towards your objective of assassinating various targets. The ability to hide in different areas and disguise yourself in different scenarios also allows you to find more creative solutions in order to solve the problem at hand. What further adds to the prowess of the gameplay systems within this fantastic trilogy is the level design. Each game within this package has such unique and well-designed levels that you'll be absolutely blown away that IO Interactive were able to come up with such levels with all different detail, all with such different pathways and opportunities from each other, that makes moving to a different level feel like an entirely new experience every single time. There is just so much variety within the levels, from the targets and their locations themselves to the tools that you have in your disposal, to even what disguises and opportunities will open up depending on the high or low levels of restrictions in the areas that you roam about within. If you're coming into the new Hitman trilogy with the fire to get some incredible gameplay, this game is going to offer you that in absolute abundance, and I assure you'll have an absolute blast playing through the fantastic package offered with the gameplay systems within the fantastic Hitman trilogy. I think we can preface this section by stating that you shouldn't come into the game looking for a riveting and intriguing story that's going to blow your socks off, because that was not the intention of the developers or even the main point of the game in any way. Everything here is to accompany and complement the gameplay systems in any way that it can. So looking for some sort of innovative and revolutionary story in a series so well known for its gameplay is making falsified notions of what the series has always been about. Anyway, the story here is pretty decent though. though. I think what really brings the story together within this trilogy is that each game perfectly adds onto each other, all following the same linear path of the mission at hand, and the player is expected to fully comprehend everything offered here, as everything that you do within the missions of the game is for you to come closer to the final objective at the end of the trilogy, which also ends up being the final mission of the last game within the trilogy. They did wrap up the story here really well, and it is quite intriguing, although nothing special. But if you're looking for the story just to be complementary to an already fantastic gameplay system, then that's definitely available here, as the story in all aspects really generates a level of amaze in where it takes you. All the locations are directly derived from what the objectives within the story are, and so you've got to pay attention in order to understand why you've got to take down a specific target and why the game wants you to go to certain locations. Anyway, the story here is pretty decent, and for what it is, IO did a fantastic job in creating something that complemented the game in a heavy manner. Okay, here we are with the last section before we conclude as to whether or not you should buy this trilogy in 2023, and I think the answer to that has become quite clear from what I've said in the last two sections of the video. The game has got a lot of different modes that you engage yourself in after you've finished the main story, or even whenever you want. This is usually different locations and contracts in which you've got to assassinate specific enemies, but here you're usually handicapped in that you've got to take down these targets in specific ways. One common requirement may be that you need to kill all targets without killing anyone else within that level, which would dramatically change the way that you play the game, and the way you approach those levels is of course going to be a lot more cautious than how you would play the game normally. All of this again adds to the diversity of the game and to the replayability of it as well, as there are so many unique opportunities in how you can play this game when you experience the different modes that the game has to offer in absolute abundance. Well, that's pretty much a wrap, and I've got to conclude that of course you should buy this trilogy even in 2023. For the previous price of a single game within the trilogy, you get an entire trilogy with so many unique levels and things to do, with the addition of different modes that can constantly reinvent how you approach the game, as well as the game's unparalleled levels of replayability. So anyway, that's it from me for today's video. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.